Okay, so hi Peter. Basically, assuming that you have the repository Warglobe set, you'll be able to view the repository if you go under Repository Short Explorer, and I'll show you the folder where you chose to put your repositories. And then in here you'll have assets. I believe it's under assets, scenes. You'll have what's called the programming scene. So we'll choose that one to open, and it'll open it through Unity. The other scenes I'm not working on presently, so there is extra content and stuff that's not needed. The version that you'll need is 2019.3.0b12. That's the platform that's allowing me to run some of the latest stuff in Unity. So as you see, I'm using Unity Hub. I can't remember, this used not to be part of Unity, but now they oblige you to download it basically. So I also went in here and created a quick, well, I actually had a 3D print model that I uploaded to Sketchfab and so on, and we'll see how it works. It's not all set up properly. Let me just go in here and apply a couple of modifiers first. We'll call this the hall, and I'm gonna copy that and then paste it into a new collection that's hidden, just to make sure I keep it. And if I apply mods, so basically what happens is that blend files get exported directly into Unity, which makes it really practical. So Unity is still turning on. Let me apply the subdiv, apply the mirror, and I'm just going to set the origin. To do this, by the way, in Blender we do space. Yeah, you probably know that anyway. But I'm going to set origin to the volume just for a simple, have it in the middle. And now it could be that the whole model needs to be rotated another set of degrees. But here is the main project, and as you can see, I'll be basing it on the aircraft carrier right here. So the aircraft carrier, if you search for anything, this little trick, if I do Queen Elizabeth, you'll see there are two things. So this should be the blend file that pops up. Yeah, because you see it has import settings. If I double click this, I'll be able to go see how my Queen Elizabeth is set up. And this one. Okay, so I have to press 3 to be able to see it, and it's pointing to the left. So I want this one to be exactly the same. So right now, obviously, my model is not pointing the same way. So I'm going to do rotate Z 90, and that should be good. Okay, and now I'm going to just, where did I save it, actually? I think I saved it in my folders. So just documents. Oh. One thing I did was actually a couple days ago I changed my computer to French, so you'll have to bear with me. So I think, yeah, Imaginarian for Warglobe. So you just take your blend file, and oh, wait a second. We got to go to the models folder. So I have asset model right here. So that's what we're gonna drag it from documents. Okay. And basically it's going to copy your blend into the Unity project, and it's going to put it inside the folder while including it in the Unity project as well, and it's going to import the whole thing. So we should be able to drag it in next. So here's my model, and as you can see, here it is dragged in, and it should have everything included. Now obviously it's way too small, so I'm going to scale it out. Hopefully this works well. I don't remember. Okay, the Queen Elizabeth is not scaled, and this one needs to be, so I'm going to put it 10 times larger in the blend file itself, just to make sure that I don't need to change scales within Unity, because that can be finicky sometimes. Alright, so it's going to take a moment, but it's going to re-import it. At least it should. The other thing you can do is go into the import settings for this and do a scale factor. So here I'm going to do 10. And it's going to re-import it. And hopefully it didn't re-import it twice over my mod. Okay, good. So this is exactly what I want. Now, what are these two dots? Oh, I bet you there's something sticking out there. Because I was, wow, sorry. Can't quite see where it is. Anyway, I'll ignore it for right now and we'll see if it works later. So basically you should be able to see every 3D object. And we're going to need to do a few things. So to start this out, I'd suggest that you do, as you see, it's laying flat across the grid. So we're going to do point towards Earth. It's just a little script that when it gets applied, it points it towards the Earth in the right direction. And then you can, it gets deactivated, but in the game it'll do stuff. So I'm going to do remove component. And then you can bring it down to the actual height you want it and carry it over to something that makes sense. The thing you can do is double click here and it's going to scale to the right size. And now we're going to add a component which is a ship. I'm not sure which ship. I think we have a missile cutter. Basically it doesn't really matter if you go see the script. They're all basically objects that are inheriting from the same ship script, so this is going to be like an aircraft carrier. I could change the name because the script itself is just like a placeholder. It only has a couple of lines and it's just inheriting from the ship class. So I wish Visual Studio were not taking so long because I would be able to show you. Basically we want a rigid body and we're going to set its mass to something that's going to be close to my aircraft carrier so that the flotation can be similar. However, even if you change the mass, the engine will still operate at the same speed because, yeah, this is illustrating my point that the class is very simple. So I could just do another script and it would be like battleship inherits from ship, and then it would be a battleship basically. But that's just for targeting, so it tells what type of ship it is. So we're gonna find our hull, and we're gonna add a couple things. We gotta add a collider. So we're going to do a mesh collider. It's the simplest way. Now the mesh is a little bit complex, but you're able to use this anyway, so it's going to be a good stand-in. And by the way, this was a really quick blend because I 3D printed it. I had cut the hull into many sections, so it's just a remake and it's not anything serious. And then we're going to need something. This is going to actually make the ship a vehicle. However, we also want to have it able to float. So what we can do is create empties inside the actual model. And these are new game objects that they just basically have a position and it has nothing added to it. So we're going to have a flotation area, and you should be able to set the dimensions. Let's see, X we should have about 50, and you'll see that it appears there. So this is what the program uses to actually make the boat float. I'm going to go 20 high and assume that we have a Z of 300 or so. Yeah, 250, 230. That's going to float pretty well. It's going to use the ship center of mass combined with the mesh collider area, kind of. The mesh collider that we added on this component. So this might tend to float towards the front, but this is just for illustration. I'm going to put a mass. Let's see what I put on here. Rigid body has a stupid big mass because it's a ship. So I'm going to assume that something 10 times less the order of magnitude. I really don't know, but this should still work. So if you want to make it play and test and see what happens, then you'll be able to press the play button and that'll allow you to see it float. Now one thing that's going to happen is that the camera is set on the aircraft carrier, So we should be able to change stuff. All right, one thing I did that I should have corrected before starting the video is that the camera emplacement is not static. So here I was working on something for it to be a ship camera, but for now I'm going to have a static camera. So it's going to basically go to the same place where the game object is being placed. So here we're going to add a camera object 2, so I'm going to create an empty and put it where we can see how we're working. Basically drag it behind the ship and angle it down a little bit. And then I'm going to add the camera, so static camera, and the field of view, if you want to see really wide, you can put it really wide. Then we need to set our game to start with this vehicle. So I'm not quite sure where, I think it's in, it's the game controller. Yeah. So we're gonna, for right now, only thing that matters is the player 1 vehicle. So I'm gonna put our Imaginarium battleship here, and then press play. And now hopefully what will happen is that the whole thing will float and not have a motor, but basically it'll display as being a vehicle and it'll be detectable and all that nice stuff. Okay, so we have an issue. So let me see what is wrong, and I'll get back on the video.